Years passed. The boy once called Adetokombo grew taller, thinner and quieter. By the time he was 15 years old, his back was bent from sleeping in corners. His fingers were scarred from cleaning cages. His voice was dry from too much silence. He had no name. The others still called him a thing, or beast, or dog boy. Gondogo no longer beat him often. He didn't need to. The boy obeyed before a hand could rise. He fetched water, cleaned wounds, chased chicken, and kept the firewood stacked. He didn't speak unless spoken to. He was treated like furniture, less than a slave, less than an animal. He was nothing, but one thing stayed alive inside him: his tail. It was stronger now. It could wrap around a stick and lift it. Sometimes, when he was alone, he would balance on one foot, tail gripping a pole like a third limb. It gave him power in secret. He practiced in the moonlight, leaping, climbing, spinning. He had no idea he was training for war. One evening, while feeding the goats, he noticed a girl staring at him through the wooden fence. She was beautiful. She had the big eyes, brown skin, and a scarf that danced in the wind. She was about his age, carrying a basket of herbs. "Why do you eat with animals?" she asked. He didn't answer. He turned away. The girl tilted her head. "What's your name?" He stayed silent. "Do you not speak?" she asked gently. He stared at her, then shook his head slowly. "I'm Imade," she said, smiling. "My father sells herbs to the traders here. I come sometimes to help him." She glanced at the goats. "Are they your friends?" He nodded. She placed the basket down and took out a ripe mango. She pushed it through the wooden slates. "Here, you look hungry." He reached for it. Their hands touched. She didn't flinch. That was the first time anyone had touched him without fear. He stared at the fruit, then at her, then back at the fruit, and slowly, for the first time in years, he smiled. Over the next few weeks, Imade came often, sometimes with herbs, sometimes with yam. Once she brought a carved wooden flute. "Do you like music?" she asked. He nodded. She played it softly, notes rising like birds in the dark sky. The animals gathered around her, drawn by the sound. He watched her fingers, her face, the joy in her eyes. Then one evening she saw it, his tail. It slipped out from beneath his sack while he was reaching for a yam. She gasped. He froze. Her eyes widened, but she didn't run. "That's a tail," she whispered. He lowered his head, ashamed. Imadi stepped closer. "Does it hurt?" He shook his head. "Does it help you climb trees?" He looked up, then he nodded. She smiled wide. "That's amazing." He blinked. "You don't think you don't think I'm a beast?" She laughed. "A beast? No. Beasts don't have eyes like yours." He stared at her, confused. "You're just different," she said gently. "And sometimes different is special." That night he couldn't sleep. He didn't know why his heart beat fast. But when he thought of her, he didn't know why he smiled in the dark. But he knew one thing for certain. Imade saw him, not as a slave, not as a freak, but as a boy. But joy does not grow easily in a place of chains. One day, Gondogo noticed her talking to him. "What are you doing here with that thing?" "It's not a thing," she said. Gondogo slapped her basket to the ground. "Leave and don't come back." Imade ran, tears in her eyes. That night, Gondogo dragged the boy out of the goat pen. "You think you're special," he roared. "With your tail and your tricks, you're nothing, and I will show you what nothing feels like." He chained the boy to a wooden post near the latrine pit. "No roof, no food, no animal. You want to act like a beast," he shouted. "Live like one." For 3 days, the boy was tied under the sun and rain. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He only whispered her name, Imade. On the fourth night, a shadow crept through the fence. It was her. She had returned. She caught the rope with a sharp stone and held his hands. Come with me, she whispered. He looked back at the only home he had ever known: mud, straw, chains, and dust. Then he looked at her, and then he made a choice. He followed her into the dark. The moon was hiding behind the clouds. Crickets sang, frog croaked in the swampy grass. But for Adetokombo, every sound was a warning. Every shadow was a possible threat. He ran barefoot beside Imade, clutching a piece of old clothes she had given him. His sack had been torn during the whipping, and he wore only a rag around his waist, and his tail swayed freely behind him. They crossed the back of the trader's camp, past the goat pen, past the broken carts. Imadi moved like wind, fast, careful, quiet. She knew the way. They reached the trees. This way. He hesitated. Behind them, in the dark, he could still hear the grunts of the goats and his old dog friend. Should he go back? No. If he did, he would die there. He took her hand, and together they disappeared into the jungle. The forest was thick. Trees whispered, owls halted, but Adetokombo felt more alive than ever. Where are we going? He finally asked, his voice raw from silence. To the village of Aguyo, Imade said. My uncle is a hunter. He doesn't ask questions. He will let us stay if we walk. Won't he see my tail? He asked. We will find you, Rapper. She smiled. They both walked all night, resting only once under a tree. She shared roasted yam and water from a calabash. He listened to her hum a lullaby, one he remembered faintly from long ago. At dawn they arrived. Agoyo was small, built beside a river with mud houses and thick forest around it. Smoke rose from cooking fires. Roasters crowed. Imade led him through a narrow path behind the compound and knocked on a door made of stick. An old man opened it. He had white hair, a long scar on his arm, and the sharp eyes of someone who had seen too much. Who is this? He said. My friend, Imade said. He escaped from the traders. Please, uncle, just for a few days. The hunter looked at the boy, at the tail coiled quietly under his leg. Spirit child? He asked. No, she replied. Just different. The man grunted, then stepped aside. Come in, but no troubles. That night, Adetokombo slept on a mat for the first time in his life. Days passed. He helped the hunter clean traps, fetch firewood, pound yam, and sharpen spears. He wore loose trousers Imade made from him from a wrapper. His tail stayed hidden, but each night in the dark, it unwrapped itself and coiled around his waist, warm and alive. Imade taught him words, taught him how to hold a spoon, how to smile with his eyes. She even taught him to write on the sand. They would sit by the river, dipping their feet in the water, laughing softly, and slowly, the boy who had once been called a beast became a boy again. One evening, as they sat watching fireflies, she said, You know, you never told me your real name. He looked at her. My name? Yes, the name your mother and father gave you. He blinked. He hasn't spoken that name in years. Adetokombo, he whispered. It means the crown has returned from the seas. She smiled wide. That's a strong name. He looked down and he touched his hand. One morning, a group of men came into the village, rough men, armed men, with faces like stone and whips at their sides. They were Gondogo's men. Imade saw them from the trees. She ran. They are here, she cried. They are looking for you. Adetokombo froze. The villagers began whispering. Eyes turned. Fear spread. They want the spirit boy. Someone said, Let's give him up. Another whispered, Before the burned village. No, Imade shouted. He's not a spirit. He's one of us. But no one moved. Even her uncle stayed silent. Adetokombo stepped forward. He looked at Imade, pain in his chest. I will go before anyone else gets hurt. No, she said, grabbing his hand. He turned to the men and shouted, I am here. They grabbed him roughly. As they dragged him away, Imade ran after him. You cowards, she cried. He is more human than any of you. Adetokombo looked back at her. The wind lifted her scarf, and in her eyes he saw tears and something else, love. Then they pulled him into a cage cat and closed the gate. As the wheel began to roll, the boy with the tail whispered to himself, I will return. The cat rolted across rough road and shaking like a dying drum. Adetokombo sat hunched in the corner, his wrists bound, his eyes empty. Gondogo didn't speak at first when he saw him. He just stared from the front, staring the horses through the bush. But there was a smile on his face, a wicked victorious smile. You thought you could escape, he finally said, without looking back. You're mine, boy. You were born mine. Adetokombo didn't answer. I gave you food when no one would. I let you live. Now you want to act like you're something. You are nothing. You're not even a human being. Adetokombo's tail curled under him, trembling not with fear but with anger. I'm going to sell you this time, Gondogo continued, not as a slave, but as a master. There's a man in Olukore Kingdom who buys strange things for his private arena. He will pay gold to see you fight wild dogs. Adetokombo still didn't reply. Gondogo turned in his seat and laughed. That night, Gondogo chained him to a tree and threw him a piece of old yam. You should thank me, he sneered. You will be famous soon. Everyone will know the boy with a tail. When Gondogo fell asleep by the fire, Adetokombo stayed awake. He looked up at the stars and whispered, Mother, did you forget me? The wind blew gently. The river gurgled. Then something strange happened. Thunder. A single clap. Far away, Adetokombo looked up. The sky was clear. No clouds, no lightning. But the sound had come from the sky, from the earth, from inside him. He closed his eyes and he began to remember, more like a dream. He saw a woman, her voice like song, her arms soft and warm. He saw golden walls, a palace, a crown. He saw a man with eyes like fire, the king. He remembered goats, a scream, a secret, his mother face whispering, You were born under thunder. You are not cursed. You are called. Called? By who? Why? He opened his eyes, and for the first time, he realized he was not born by accident. Someone had placed him in the world on a purpose, not to be a slave, not to be a beast, but for something greater. By morning, he had made a decision. He would no longer run. He would no longer hide. When Gondogo dragged him from the tree, he stood taller. What are you smiling at? Gondogo snapped. Adetokombo looked him in the eyes. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Gondogo laughed. You should be. I own you. No, Adetokombo said. You don't. He jacked his hands and snapped the chain. Gondogo stumbled back, eyes wide. What? Adetokombo's tail rose behind him like a whip. You called me an animal, he groaned. You fed me with dogs, but you forgot one thing. Gondogo tried to grab his sword. Adetokombo's tail lashed forward, knocking the blade away. I was born under thunder. He stepped closer, his voice calm, and thunder fight back. He laughed, using his tail to wrap around Gondogo's neck, not to choke him, but to pull him away. Gondogo hit the ground hard. His head struck a rock. He groaned and stopped moving. Adetokombo stood over him, panting. Then he turned and ran into the forest, not in fear, but towards his destiny. The road to Aderemola was long and dusty, but Adetokombo walked with hope in his heart. He didn't know what waited ahead, but something deep inside him told him to go towards the Golden Kingdom with tall gates and high drums. The name had returned to him in a dream, Aderemola, and he felt drawn to it like a bird in the wind. His feet were blistered. His tail was tied tightly under his shirt. He had not eaten in days. But when he saw the gate of the city, his heart beat faster. I know this place, he whispered. This feels like home. But the people of Aderemola didn't welcome strangers kindly, especially not strangers with tails. Adetokombo entered the kingdom quietly, hoping to find food or a kind face. But it wasn't long before a child saw his tail when it slipped from under his wrapper. The child screamed, a woman fainted, a man shouted, a demon, a spirit man. In just one day, the rumor spread like fire. There is a man with a long tail in Aderemola. Some say he walks like a beast, but speaks like a man. Others say he looked like the prince. People feared him. Some threw stones, others ran when he passed. No one gave him food or water. He slept under trees, hiding in the market, drinking from broken pots left behind by the traders. Children sang cruel songs about the guy with the snake on his back. But even worse was the whisper that reached the palace. Prince Tayo was sitting under a tall tree when he heard the news. A beast man? He asked his guards. Yes, your highness. The market women say he has a long tail, and some even say he has your face. My face? Tayo stood up sharply. That's a lie. I only repeat what I heard, my prince, the guard said nervously. Tayo's face turned red with anger. How dare a beast walk in the kingdom pretending to be me? Where is he now? They said he's near the back gate, begging for food. Tayo grabbed his staff and shouted, Get the guards, we go now. Down by the broken wall of the kingdom, Adetokombo sat weakly beside a well. His lips were dry, his stomach made loud noises, his hands were shaking. He was too tired to hide his tail now. It coiled behind him like a sleeping rope. A few women gathered to watch him from afar. They whispered and pointed. Look at it. The tail is real. He even has the prince's nose. Could he? Could he be? Suddenly, horses stormed into the square. Drums beat. Guards shouted, Make way for Prince Tayo. And there he was, tall, strong, dressed in royal clothes. The people knelt as he passed, but Adetokombo stayed, kneeling on the dusty ground, his head low. Please, he whispered, I am not a beast. I am hungry. I have walked many days. I am a human being like you. Tayo got down from the horse and stepped closer. He stared at the tail guy. For a moment, he said nothing. His eyes moved across the guy's face. The shape of the chin, the deep set of teeth, the way his lips curved when he spoke. For one brief second, Tayo felt something. A strange cold wind passed between them. Then, someone in the crowd gasped and said loudly, They look alike. Look at their faces, another said. The moment shattered. Tayo's face turned dark. He stepped back in disgust. How dare you look like me, he roared. How dare anyone say a beast like this could share my face? Adetokombo's mouth opened slightly. Please, I don't know who I am. I am only... Silence, Tayo shouted. Guards! Yes, your highness. Beat him. Beat him like the animal he is. And when you are done, throw him out of the kingdom. Let the dog have him. No, Adetokombo cried out, crawling backwards. But the guards had no mercy. They struck him with cane and boots. Dust flew, blood stained the ground. People turned their faces away. The maddened name slipped from Adetokombo's lips in a whisper before he blanked out. When it was over, the guards dragged his bleeding body through the city gates and left him by the edge of the forest. Prince Tayo turned back to the palace, chest high, but in his heart something had begun to crack, something that would soon become a storm.